in
the
good
idea
faith.
would be that the fate of millions of people shouldn't be held up over the discussion about one person.
No,
that would be the end.
That is
what
so
it would
patently
be. It would be
ridiculous.
good faith on Iran's part to turn
him
him
loose. That's a simple.
It was show
the
some
point
good
that
faith.
Steve's making, frankly, is our government didn't even ask.
Yeah, that's
You are listening to WOOP-LP, Cleveland, Tennessee. WOOP FM is a broadcasting service of the Traditional Music Resource Center, and we play America's original music.
Good morning and welcome to Make It Grow here on WOOP FM 99.9, or you can go to the internet at www.woopfm.com. You can call us here at 614-5553. Debbie, tell me what's going on over there.
Good morning, Ron. This is February. Oh, March
Boy,
the
you're
18th.
behind.
April. And I'm still behind. April. That's the number 4 is April. Can we start over?
Go right ahead.
And we're going to do Make It Grow this morning. And right now we're just trying to say make the water go away. We've had lots of rain this week, and I'd say everybody's garden spot's pretty sloppy this morning.
Well, if you don't have it plowed, you ain't going to get it plowed here for a day or two, are you?
No.
Tell us who you got with you there.
We've got Nancy Hoffman and Dave Hopper with us today, and we're going to be talking about gardening, and we can answer questions and we can tell you things. And so, but be sure to stay tuned until about 9:45, and then at 10 o'clock, Old Town Cleveland will come on.
Right.
Even though I think it's February, the March 18th show will be on.
It's after the 15th now. The April show, Deb. April. Write that down there. April. It's after April 15th. Can I plant something?
Yes, sir, you can.
What can I plant now? Everything?
He's been hankering to plant something.
Seeds, any kind of seeds you can plant, because we're supposed to be getting a little cold snap about the end of April. Probably not a frost. Everybody's planting. If you might have to go out and cover it if you're going to plant tenders.
If you went by Lowe's or Home Depots or one of those other places, they was people buying plants by the tons last week. So, Dave, what do you think?
I think a lot of people probably have planted their tomatoes and stuff, and I think it's not a bad idea, but I think really your effort's best spent like 1st of May for May. I've actually have some tomatoes at home. I've probably had 3 weeks, but I put them in pots, and I keep them kind of out of the heavy rain. I kind of get the sides where they don't get flooded, but they're growing, but they wouldn't grow any better if I put them in the soil outside. Plus, I'm nurturing up to be taller. Then when I plant them in my garden spots, I put them actually deeper in the ground. They put out more roots, but you can plant them now if you want to. And I don't think we're going to have another frost. If we do, we'll just take precautions as needed.
Plant some more.
Yeah, plant some more.
Keep Lowe's in business.
Yeah, they would love that. What about flowers?
There's some flowers that can go out now, marigolds and the hardy flowers. I would not be planting impatiens because those are real tender. Any kind of a frost will wilt those right down to nothing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and impatiens likes a lot of shade.
Impatiens do like the shade. They've got some new ones that will take sun. Is it New Guinea impatiens?
Sun patients. I've heard the term sun patient.
Yeah.
I'm really not familiar with them.
There's some now that they've bred that will take some sun, but they're always nice to plant next to your hostas and just give you a little spark of color.
We got a lot of hostas. I split all mine up last year and
now's
did a good job.
Now's a great time to split the hostas. Matter of fact, I've got some home that maybe a foot tall, but my wife convinced me I can still move them. So that's on my list as soon as it dries up to move some more, because they really look good. And then now you can really see what you have and where you want to maybe have them too crowded or move them to another location.
Well, I've got some that's crowded, and I've got some that I've spread out over on the other side of my steps, and so
we've got lots of hostas this year.
Doing good.
How many different varieties of hostas do you typically have?
We just have one right now.
Just one.
Yeah. Okay.
We don't have a lot of space for
some
them.
of them are kind of rare. I don't know a lot about hostas, but
I'm not an expert either.
That are.
And I last fall I split up a lot of my irises, and now I have plenty.
But I'm not sure they haven't started blooming yet.
Well, I don't know. Sometimes you
It's-
split them, they
Sometimes
won't.
It makes
Yeah.
kind of puts them in shock. Yeah.
Yeah, I've got daylilies do the same thing, but I divide mine in the spring, in the fall. And a friend of mine's taught me a little bit about the daylilies, and they're really doing good. I had them bloom the first spring after or first summer, early summer after I did divide them. So, but I wouldn't really divide the
Dave,
daylilies now.
A few years ago, I had over the course of several years had got quite a daylily and canna lily collection going at our house. All of a sudden, all of them disappeared. The only thing I could figure is some varmint down under the ground ate the bulbs or something.
Could do it.
And voles do that.
Oh, I was so
they'll have lunch
disappointed
on it.
because I kept waiting for my beautiful flowers to come up, and I mean nothing. They ate them all.
Well, the voles will get that, and of course, if you don't have any snakes to get the voles, so you're just out of trouble. I love, aren't you?
Yeah.
Yeah.
You got to have a few little snakes around, don't you? I don't like them, but as long as they
I'm
come
not
eat the
fond
voles,
of 'em, but they're
if they'll come
good.
eat the voles and leave, I'm okay with that.
Keep your mice down.
Yeah.
Voles and the mice and the gophers and the rabbits.
Well, rabbits, I've got, of course, people listen to the show here that since I live down on the south end near APD 40 where all that construction is, all that habitat's gone, so they've all moved to my house. So I've got gophers and bobcat and you name it, but what kind of creature. And the big groundhogs is what really bother me the most because they dig underneath the house and then they leave and the skunks go underneath there. So that's been a unique problem. We trapped 3 groundhogs and 3 skunks last year. Groundhogs are easier to get rid of than
Few
the skunks.
possums.
Lord.
Yeah, a lot easier to get rid of. So, Dave, what you gonna plant this year?
Well, I've already planted a few potatoes. I had a friend that planted quite a few in a raised bed, and he gave me about 8 or 10. I wasn't going to put potatoes out. Now I'm kind of worried about anybody that's maybe planted potatoes. Got to watch for rot because all the rain we've had, unless you have a good drained area, you may not have a lot of potatoes like you normally would because of the excess moisture. But I'm going to plant basically tomatoes, basically, and I've got lettuce and spinach. Actually, one of the best overwinter projects, I planted spinach last fall. Done great. It's been there all winter. Now it's beautiful. It's about a foot tall. The leaves are huge. Now, I had some leaves die, of course, when it got cold, but I've just trimmed those off, and they just flat took off for the spring growth, so they look great now.
Are you going to turn that under and just use it as compost?
No, the one spinach I'm gonna have. I've just got like 4 or 5 plants in a raised bed. We're gonna use that as long as we can. Then when it's time, if I need the space for a tomato or pepper or whatever, I'll take them out. But spinach does pretty good that way.
Have you any of you done any study on these purple potatoes and purple sweet potatoes? They're supposed to be better for you, but I don't know anything about them. Our friend Ken Roark down in the McDonald area, who's a huge farmer and does big gardener too, has planted them this year. And he says really great success. But I couldn't find any purple potatoes to plant.
That's the problem. You can get purple potato sets from. I know Seed Savers has them. It's maybe too late to order them now.
It is.
Now sweet potatoes I'm not sure about, but Seed Savers is one place I've noticed that has potatoes of all varieties. But you got to order them early. But there may be other places you can do the same thing from. But as far as locally, I don't know of anybody locally that has that type of
Hey, we got a call coming in here. Good morning, you're on Make It Grow.
Can you hear me?
Yes, you can.
Can you hear us?
Hey, Ron, that guy there, I just wanted to tell you some things that I have done around my raised beds.
Okay.
Not on the plant or not nowhere close to it, but around the raised beds, throw out a few mothballs just here and there, and that keeps a lot of varmints away. They hate that odor because they have actually got ether in them, but I don't reckon it's against the law.
It'll definitely keep the snakes away now.
I wonder if it works on squirrels.
No.
No, they'll eat them. Squirrels eat anything.
Too. I mean, it'll keep a lot of varmints away because they don't like that odor.
Well, they keep
If
away.
you have feral cats around, it'll keep them away from your house so they aren't marking their territory. It also works really good to put it around, if you've got container gardens outside that the squirrels like to jump into, to put them in the container gardens.
Oh, will they?
Yeah.
Okay, well, that.
Mothballs are good overall.
I tried cayenne pepper around the bottom of my plants for the squirrels, and they just liked it. They were apparently Mexican
Mexican.
squirrels. Yeah, they ate it too.
See, I've got broccoli knee high, fixing them. Fixing to make the what do they call them, broccoli forward. I didn't fool with cauliflower because it you know, you have to pin the leaves up over them, keep the sun from having it. It you know, whatever.
Are your broccoli plants growing nice crowns now, or are they going to flower?
They've got some blooms on them, but they're well, I wouldn't say knee high. I guess almost knee high. They got blooms all over them, but something just demolished one of them, and then some onion plants. They were planted with the plant. You know, you only plant them in each state. I've got a fence that's 2-inch mesh all the way around, 5 foot high, around my raised beds, and but don't have no top on it. And this is actually what I've seen. An old crow. There's a crow. He swooped down, grabbed one of those onion plants, and then flew away. And I've planted 2 bunches of big old bunches, and from babies over there. I didn't mean to give it a plug, but they had some real good ones. And I'm going to put this to let me tell you this right here too. They call them Georgia yellow sweet. They're not allowed to call them Vidalia in Tennessee because Vidalia is a patent name. You know that.
Yeah.
Anyway, okay, but they're the same as Vidalia. Is it too late to set out onion bulbs? Because that's our Misty Mountain Greenhouse. I don't mean to be throwing in all these plugs, but I am a gardener. And is it too late? I got some bulbs out there of a big old purple hamburger. Is it too late to set them out? Is it too late to put the bulbs in the ground?
I think if you've got the bulbs already in your possession, they'll do better out there in the ground than they will in a sack in the house. So I'd give it a try.
As soon as the ground dries out a bit.
Yeah.
Yeah, when it dries. You want dry soil. It's too wet right now for onions.
Now, when you do those bulbs, do you put them all the way down in the ground?
No, I put them probably.
Halfway?
Well, it depends on I've used some not sets, but the little small plants, and they
Yeah.
don't have much base, so I do put them probably maybe an inch deep. But when they start growing the bulb, I'll go out and start raking the soil away from them where the bulb
I've
can
actually seen
expand.
where you took the bulb and laid it down sideways and put it halfway down in the ground.
As long as
And
the
it's
roots,
still-
if the roots are in contact with the soil and
Yeah,
they
it's
grow
gonna
that
grow,
way,
yeah.
you're good to go.
Yeah. Now, if you put it all the way down the ground, all you're going to get is that little bulb, right?
My raised beds are solid Pro Mix.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. All right. Hey, thank you
I
there.
probably got maybe $600 worth of soil. It's not soil. It's growing media.
Yeah.
But I probably got $600 worth in my raised beds of Pro Mix.
That's a good
You
thing.
know what Pro Mix is?
Yeah.
In the compressed bags.
Yeah.
Three.
Hey, Sid, we got to move on there. Thank you, Sid. All right, folks, you can call us here at 614-5553. Dave, you got some worms that you at your house, don't
If I
you?
got worms.
Yeah, Dave's got worms.
Bless his heart.
I started out.
Castor will get right rid of those.
Well, that's not this. It's the red wigglers. I have a small vermiculture bin that I raised for. It's basically a demonstration project for
Yeah.
the juvenile court, and I do it for just the way to recycle household vegetable scraps and newspaper bits and whatever. But they're doing good. I started out with maybe 30 or 40 red wigglers, and now they're too many to count. I know, and I've separated some last week and give some to the juvenile court. We started some vermiculture bins. The kids did down there. So, but they're doing well. They multiply and they eat.
It don't take a lot to do that. You can get some plastic containers at the store, right?
That's what I did. I started out with just basic Rubbermaid containers. They're the dark. I would suggest using the dark ones, dark blue or black if you can find them, because the worms don't like the light, so anything to keep the light out. And but it's easy to start. There's a lot of information online about starting a vermiculture bin, and it's just a way of recycling your household coffee grounds or whatever you choose to put in there. They'll eat about any of the household stuff that you would normally compost, not dairy or meat products.
So how would it? How long does it take for it to become usable?
Well, it depends on how many worms you have. They say a worm eats half to maybe 1.5 times its body weight per day in the food. So if you got a lot of worms, I've just harvested mine about 2 weeks ago, and that's been in there about a year. And but it's pure. It's real strong. I don't know what the strength of it is, but it's pure worm castings. And so I'll mix that just in potting mix. I don't have enough to do a whole garden because I don't have that big of an operation, but it makes enough. About a year probably. Depends on the number of worms you have in your bin.
Basically, air, water, food, right?
Yep, air, water, food,
and darkness.
Now,
does it need to be cool or hot? I mean, the cooler the better, or does it need to be
70 degrees is optimum?
So in a basement, garage, something like that?
Under a sink, in the kitchen. Oh, no, I wouldn't. Mine's not in the kitchen. Most people wouldn't put it in the kitchen, but it has no odor. It smells like natural earth when you smell the bin. But put them in an environment where it doesn't get any colder than, say, 40 degrees and no hotter than, say, 80. They'll survive a little bit higher maybe, but not. They want to eat. The ideal temperature is probably around 70 degrees.
Now, this is not your fishing worms, are they?
No. Well, you could use fishing worms probably, but red wigglers are the ones that's recommended to use in a vermiculture bin. There's a company in Etowah that raises worms for worm casting. I think they use a African night crawler. They're a large worm. Actually, I took some to my brother in Kentucky, and he's feeding them but he uses them for fishing. They are big, but the red wigglers are so small that they wouldn't be suitable for fishing worms, more than likely.
Good morning, you're on Make It Grow.
Yeah, is this an old Whoop FM?
It is.
Has that got making old bud around?
Nope, no, there's no bud here.
Yeah, you're live on the air.
Well, I'm just calling and want to hear a little truck driving music there.
Well, we're in the middle of a talk show right now.
Okay, sorry to interrupt your talk show there.
That's okay.
We go back a long time with old Bud and some of them there were cheap auto sales and old hanky panky and all of us rode all them cars.
Yep. Well, all right. Well, if in between the show, I'll play you a song.
Oh, I appreciate it, buddy.
All right. Thank you. Now.
You have a good day.
All right. Bye. Hey, you can call us here at 614-5553. We got the Master Gardeners here. Before we go on, I didn't say a lot about the Master Gardeners. The Master Gardeners is a program here. You can become a Master Gardener. They have a class once a year. If you're interested, you can call the Agricultural Center here office, and it's at 728-7002. I believe it's correct, isn't it? And the classes are about a 16-week class, 3 hours and one time a week. And you learn from anything from grass to trees to varmints, insects, all type of shrubberies, trees, flowers, vegetables, wormiculture, I call it. And also beekeeping. There's classes on how to get rid of those critters who eat your crops and things of that nature. So if you're interested in do that. And the Master Gardeners, what they do, they help the extension agent here. They help answer questions, and they have their own programs. That right now they're doing the Master Junior Gardener program, where they actually go out and the judge assigns some young men and women to come take these classes or go to jail. I mean, they got an option here. They come there, and what the Master Gardeners teach them all about planning. They do 1 hour a week of classroom and 1 hour of actually going out growing, and they grew some unbelievable crops this year. We got another phone call here. Go ahead. You're on Make It Grow.
Hey, Ron, this is the last time I'll bother you.
Okay.
I have to tell you this. I have read a whole big thick green book of organic gardening.
Uh-huh.
Thick green book. I have read that thing 2 or 3 times. Several times. I've learned every time.
Does it end the same way every time?
Huh?
Does it end the same way every time?
I couldn't. You wasn't laughing.
He said
I was making a
something
joke.
funny.
Sid. Go ahead.
I have read that it's a thick organic gardening, and I try to go organic as much as I can, all I can. But sometimes you got to use a little chemical every once in a while. They took all the harsh stuff out of chemicals now. You can't buy 17 or 10% no more. You can buy it's called something else. But they already took all the harsh chemicals out of most of the insecticides now. And the best way to go is organic anyway. There's organic ways.
Yep.
And I want that guy, the professionals there, to talk about, because I already know this, but I want them to tell the other people about what kind of herbs. That's one of them words that starts with H and, herbs.
Yep.
That will repel insects like French marigolds, for one thing.
We'll do that. Thank you there, Sid. You got any answers to that? Herbs and that'll get rid of that?
Herbs.
Marigolds get rid of the bees, won't they?
No, they won't get rid of the bees.
Mosquitoes.
They get rid of the long green worms. There's theories on what they're good for. I just saw on Facebook that marigolds shoo away on mosquitoes. Haven't seen that. But what the gentleman's talking about is companion planting with herbs and flowers and whatever to keep the insects from attacking your favorite plants. And I just read in one of the books that using yarrow, which is a very old-fashioned plant, is a good companion plant for roses, because you can put a pot of yarrow near your roses that are full of aphids and bugs, and they will go to the yarrow rather than the rose. Doesn't get rid of them, but it gets it off your favorite plant.
How about citronella plants? Do they have any effect, Nancy?
They do, but you have to cut the citronella and smack it on you so that you get the oil. So it just growing it near your porch won't get rid of them.
Won't keep mosquitoes
Yeah,
away.
it's the oil in the
that comes
plant.
from-
But if you just wave it around, use it for a fly swat, it'll get rid of them.
Mm-hmm.
Cool.
But there's a lot of uses for herbs. Herbs are one of the things that I really enjoy growing. They're easy, don't require anything.
And not a lot of space either, does it?
No, you can grow them in pots, or I have a pretty good sized herb garden, and there's a lot of uses for them other than cooking. You can use rosemary, tie a bundle and put it in your shower, and it will wake you up in the morning. It doesn't have any negative properties to it. No caffeine, but it will stimulate and it does nice things to your skin.
Deb needs that. She's not a wake-up person in the morning now.
Ron, I'm gonna one of my experiments this summer is gonna be doing an herb garden in a bale of straw. I've got a bale that I've scratched out maybe 6 inches deep, probably 2/3 of the length of the bale, and I'm gonna condition the bale and plant probably 7, 8, or 6 to 8 herb varieties in there, and see how they do in that bale of straw.
Now, you don't use any soil or anything in that. You just
No, I will use some soil.
some soil, yeah.
I'll use soil. I'll condition the bale with nitrogen. You got to put nitrogen to start the decomposition of the straw.
Mm-hmm.
Then I'll use the basic grow mix that I use for most everything else, potting mix, and because you still have to have nutrients to feed any plants you have in the straw. And I had tomatoes in a bale. I had 2 tomato plants in one bale last year, done fairly well. But anyway, this year I'm going to do herbs because I can put it near the house. And to me, herbs have got to be convenient, or you won't use them. If they're out by the garden, you won't go pick them and use them. So we use quite a bit of parsley and basil and maybe a little bit of thyme, oregano. So I'm going to have a little mixture. It'll be a show thing maybe, and it's basically an experiment for me. But
You had a nice display at Green Day at Cleveland State last week. It was very, very impressive.
well, I think May the 2nd, Ace Hardware is having a Ask a Master Gardener Day.
Oh, great.
And I'm going to probably take that same display there. Then after that's finished, I'll probably start conditioning the bale for planting. But I can't do that now because you have to use water, and the bale gets kind of heavy. So right now it's kind of portable. So,
All right.
but it's just a novel idea. A lot of people like it, and it's just a way to have a compact way of growing something. It is a container in a sense, but it's kind of a novelty idea.
It's a nice raised bed.
Yeah, it is a nice one.
That's good. And so now, at the end of the season, that's decomposed so much you have to You can use.
You can use it for mulch.
Can-
Now there will be, if you use a straw bale, you will have some wheat grains germinate, and you'll have some grass, sweet grass growing out of it here and there. But I would use straw, not hay. Hay could have who knows what growing out, and straw has the texture of a cut straw they're hollow inside, and it'll hold some moisture, versus hay. I think is basically grasses that may not hold as much moisture. I'm not sure, but you still have to water them in the summer because they are above ground. If they get dry, you can wrap plastic around the outside to help retain some of the moisture. But I didn't have a problem last year with my tomatoes drying out, but I was watering them. If you put it convenient, and that's like any garden, the more convenient it is, the more you're going to pay attention to it. So.
Yeah, a garden a mile away from the house just don't get tended as much, does it?
Nope.
By your neighbors, maybe.
Yeah, or the deer. The deer will come. He said spoke about organic everything. What's your opinion of what organic gardening is?
I really have mixed feelings about it. I think to me is using natural compost, using natural soils, if you can do it without adding a chemical, which basically is chemical fertilizers or chemical pesticides. And I think sometimes it's pretty hard to do true organic, and that's why some of the organic products are quite expensive in the grocery store. But to me, I try to do is what I perceived as be organic, but the plants I use in my compost, they probably weren't organic. So to be true organic, I think it's a little bit hard to do.
Let's get this call here. Good morning, you're on Old Town Cleveland. Oh, no, you're on Make It Grow. I'll get it right here in a minute.
Well, I found the perfect garden that I need to go raid this year if I could only find out where it's at.
It's what's your address, Dave?
You'd starve because I don't have a large garden. It's just small raised beds.
How you doing, Jeff?
No, I actually had some nice tomatoes and some nice jalapeno peppers last year.
Oh, good. Well,
I think those might have come from our
Ants
house.
got my tomatoes last year.
Miss Debbie, you got that right.
Yeah, I did. You did get some jalapenos and some habaneros from me last year.
Those habaneros are dangerous.
Well, Jeff, how's things going? Well, guess what, Jeff?
What?
I don't have to go to Chattanooga anymore like I've been going for the last 120 days. And Monday morning, I'm coming to get a biscuit at the Oasis over here at...
Well, Ron, I hate to break you news.
Uh-oh.
The bad news or the good news?
Tell me.
The bad news is I'm not going to be there.
Oh, what's the good news?
I'm back in retirement.
Oh, well, so am I.
The good
So
news
am I.
is he's not going to be there.
So am I.
Oh, well.
Well, I hate to hear that because I'll have to go somewhere else to get my biscuit, won't I?
Somebody else will make it for you there.
Hey, but all you got to do is hear about a little later this summer, you come by here to the station one morning, you can have some more peppers.
Well, I'll have to do that one Saturday morning.
That sounds good. So you and Deb both retired?
No, Debbie's working somewhere else now.
Okay, all right. Well,
Now, I'm the only one that's going back into retirement.
well, how do you like it?
Oh, I'm loving it now. It's time to go get some worms to go fishing since y'all been talking about worms.
That's right. That's right. Well, I just have to go with you someday.
There you go. Miss Debbie, how are you?
I'm doing fine, thank you, Jeff. I'm doing really well.
Good.
Do you ever grow anything, Jeff, that you can talk about on the air?
I'm fixing to start growing some tomatoes.
Yeah.
Well,
yeah.
good.
All right.
Well, I'm going to hope my tomatoes make it this year. All right, thanks,
Thanks,
Jeff.
Jeff.
Yeah, y'all have a
Good
good
talking
All right,
to you,
bye-bye.
buddy.
Like last year, my tomatoes, I'd go out there and there'd be a beautiful red tomato, and I'd grab it, start walking in the house. Before I got in the house, ants all over me. They were getting inside of them. How do you keep them out?
I don't know. I've never had ants get inside the tomato.
I had them
certainly
inside my
did.
tomatoes.
Were
last
they
year.
fire ants?
Little bitty
They
tiny
bit the devil out of me, I can tell you that.
Well, they were probably fire ants. You probably had a fire ant bed
In the pot.
near your fire ants will get a lot of places.
Yes.
And it was probably they come into fire if it was a pot, they get in the pot and raised beds, they'll get in the corner of a raised bed. We have that issue at the juvenile court, some of their raised beds. They'll build in the corners.
We've had those fire ants were all over last year, and I don't think you kill them. You just move them from where they are right now to the next location.
That's been my experience too.
Yeah, they move a lot, and
There's an organic way to get rid of fire ants, but it takes two people. You'd have two people, 2 shovels, and 2 mounds of fire ants because they're very territorial. And each person takes a scoop of fire ants and swaps them.
Yep.
You put,
wow.
and they will kill the colony. They don't move. They go in and kill
Well,
them.
I had 3 or 4 last year. I could get me a shovel from both sides.
I've heard
there.
the same thing. I'm gonna try it. I don't think you can just take a shovel out of each one and just swap it, put them in a bucket, move. I hadn't tried that, but that may be a good
I've
good
tried it.
experiment.
It works.
Well, I'm gonna have to try
But
that.
you really have to
Wow.
boogie if
Just-
you're doing it
just-
by yourself.
Yeah.
Well, I'll put them in a bucket. You don't have to hold them in your hand. Put them in a bucket.
They don't crawl up the bucket and up
Well,
the handle and
they-
up your arm.
my fire ant beds aren't that far apart. So.
Well, I tell you, I had some big ones there down in the backyard last year. I could have.
We'd put that stuff on it you get at Lowe's, and they just move 3 feet over and making it higher.
Yes, they do.
Yeah, I seen an interesting thing on the internet where someone took they got hot lead, about 2 pounds of lead, and melted it, and went over to it and poked a hole in it real quick and poured that lead down in there, and then they dug it up and the ants were gone, and it made this beautiful little metal statue of all those
It's tunnels.
all the tunnels and everything. It was pretty interesting. So I'm gonna have to try the
Well-
2 ant things
Well,
this year.
boiling water supposedly works, but that's a lot of water to
Well,
boil.
gasoline will get them too, but
Ga-
it also
well,
gets your yard.
I wasn't going to
Yeah.
mention that, but I
Right.
think gasoline's probably the most effective of all.
Good morning. You're on Make It Grow.
Yep. Please tell about how ants will herd aphids like cattle. They'll milk the aphids. They'll carry aphids to your plants. They will carry them from another plant to your other plant to your plant, and they will make them raise on your plants, and then they'll go back and milk them for the sweet,
Yep.
for the for the sweet secretion after they eat plants. Please tell about that. But ants are no good.
An answer. I don't know anything good about ants at all. To tell you the truth, is there? I'm sure they are. They anything good in nature that ants do? I mean, what? Am I missing something?
They probably loosen the soil.
They aerate
Yeah.
the ground quite
Aerate
well.
the ground, about the only thing I know.
Yeah, but
have
the-
worms.
He may be reflecting, commenting on the black sooty mold. I have a crepe myrtle that gets black sooty mold, and I was trying to figure out where it came from, but I think it origins from aphids. Then ants come and eat the aphids, if I'm not mistaken. Then they secrete this sugary substance. Then the leaves start turning black. And when the leaves start turning black, the plant can't do photosynthesis, and they start looking bad. But it all starts for those aphids. If you can keep the aphids off your crepe myrtle, some crepe myrtles have it, some doesn't. And I'd say that may be typical for a lot of plants that have aphids that attract the ants. That it's a process. But getting rid of the aphids first is probably the key to keeping that
Yeah,
from
having a
happening.
healthy plant to start with.
Right.
That insecticidal soap or the horticultural soap, sometimes they say just spray that or the horticultural oil on it, and it smothers the aphids and doesn't hurt the plant.
Or rinse it with water. My
Yeah.
crepe myrtle happens to be a dwarf. It's a pink or red one, and I take a water hose, and before I even see a few aphids, I'll just start blasting it up through the leaves, and probably doesn't get them all, but it does. It's pretty effective. And when I prune the crepe myrtle, I leave some air where air circulate through the inner
Right.
part of it. Air circulation is always good, but
Talking about pruning crepe myrtles, I had a person ask me the other day how to get rid of crepe myrtles because she didn't like the way they looked. Now, she moved here from northern areas and didn't know what a crepe myrtle was, and the house that she they'd been pruned to lollipop trees. That is what people do, but I love to see a crepe myrtle that's been limbed and it has that bonsai look where the limbs kind of float away and there's air space.
yeah, that's from thinning, not topping.
Yeah, topping it just
Topping it.
gives you that
You
lollipop
can top
tree.
I'm say topping. I've seen them top to stubs, and
Yeah.
when last winter was a great example. A lot of stubs died, and you'll see at the very bottom they'll put out lots of new canes or new growth. There'll be 30 coming out of the ground. Then it turns into a scraggly looking bush where they had a nice tree that was improperly pruned the season prior. So, but if you thin them, selectively take limbs, because they will grow a lot of limbs inside where the limbs cross and rub each other. You thin some of that out, they really look good.
It makes a beautiful, beautiful tree.
But some of them grow to like 30 feet tall, so you need to know the variety you're putting where when you put it out, because crepe myrtle's not all the same.
Yeah. Good morning. You'll Make It Grow.
Good morning, Ron and Debbie.
Good morning.
How are you guys this morning?
Super.
I'm going to tell you what I do with the ants. I use Purex. I pour it down in the hole,
How to do it.
it'll get rid of them. I haven't had any in years.
Now, what does it do to the grass?
I just.
Well, I mean, I'd rather have a little bit of brown grass than have the ants.
I may try that. Make a Purex spray out of bleach.
No, I just take the bottle out there
Yeah, I understand.
and just pour it in the hole. And I don't spray nothing.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to try that because I'll have plenty of examples at your thing. And also, if you're going to use the gas, don't light it and put it next to the house. Make sure it's away from the house if you're going to light it.
Let's don't light it.
I don't use gas for nothing. My lawnmower, my weed eater. So listen, have a good day.
Hey, thanks for that tip.
Bye-bye.
Purex. I'll have to try that.
Yeah,
that would be good.
that's worth a try.
I bet you could take an oil funnel and push it down into the nest and then pour the Purex down so it'd go all the way to the bottom.
Some of these fire ant hills are quite wide, so I wasn't sure.
Well,
to get them
the
all.
main thing you want to do is you want to get the queen. So
Yes, but you don't know where the queen's habitating at the time. So
Poured a lot of Purex, I guess.
Yeah.
Go ahead. You're on Make It Grow.
I'll try it.
Good morning, Ron and Dave. How you doing this morning?
Hey, Bullet. How you doing?
Where have you been, buddy?
I just was going to say, I know your name of your show is Make It Grow, but is there anything to make this grass stop growing?
Purex.
I feel that way, too. It's kind of like the one day that the sun shined, we mowed our yard, and that's been less than a week ago, and it looks like you can bale hay there now.
I'm actually getting better. I've been going through therapy, and I'm wearing a back brace now, but I'm going to be able to still do work, I think, this summer for you if you want me to. And
Sure.
I just want you to remember a friend of mine, David Williams, passed away, and I'm going to go to his funeral here at 11 o'clock, and he was Ann Williams, and Matthew Williams' son.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, he worked at the pool place, didn't he?
Yeah, I've known him about 30-something years, and anyway, I just want to call say hello to you and Ron, and I haven't been calling you here lately, but I've been kind of going through therapy and stuff.
Okay. Well, we're glad to hear from you, Bullet, and yes, put me on your list as people to keep happy this summer.
Okay, we'll see you later.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Bullet comes and takes care of my pool, which makes me happy, which Ron don't have to
Makes
listen
me
to
happy, too. I have started asparagus this year. I've got 4 plants coming up. I think I planted 6, and I got 4 coming up right now. And we got another call here. Go ahead with Make It Grow.
I'm sorry.
All right, go ahead, Dave. Tell us about asparagus.
Ooh, that's a good one. I've got a neighbor and he has abandoned his traditional garden, and we're in the process of trying to establish asparagus row.
Uh-huh.
We bought some asparagus crowns from a local big box store and planted them about 2 weeks ago, and they looked dry as a bone when they come out of the box, and I'm really disappointed. They're not sprouting yet. We probably didn't get our crowns from the right source, but I would still be interested in trying to get this bed started.
Well, I did. I bought mine from Gurney's last year. You order them. I ordered them like in early October, and they said we're not going to ship them to you till the middle of December. When they said it was right to plant them, that's when they shipped them. I thought that was interesting, so they shipped them to me, and I put them in the ground. I kept saying, "Well, I don't know," but then I was looking out there, and I'm going. I had some little pine shoots coming up, and I says, "Is that the asparagus or the pine?" And I started to rip up these first ones growing up, and I would have got my asparagus. So finally, now I've got the asparagus up. Now I know the difference between the little pine shoots that keep coming up everywhere.
Well, when they shipped your asparagus crowns to you, were they dry? Or
real dry, and
Okay.
some cellophane with the hole in
Okay.
it. And I think I planted 6, and I got 4 coming up. I got one. It's a foot tall now. So
Okay.
it's really. It's
Well, we
going
just
good.
planted. Maybe I'm in a little bit too much of a hurry, but we planted them like two weeks ago, and they still look dormant as they can be.
They
so.
will be. My understanding is it'll be like a next year before I actually get asparagus. Is that
Probably.
true?
The one thing I guess maybe most people know about asparagus know this, but if you plant asparagus, you need a dedicated spot for it because you can't use the same spot because it'll be there up to maybe 30 years.
Yeah.
Possibly. So
I ain't never had anything last 30
No, but-
years. I mean, my trees die faster than that. No.
20 years or so,
Yeah.
they claim.
Okay, well that's good.
But it will tie up that spot if you want to have an active asparagus.
Now, when the next year, as asparagus starts to appear, if you don't cut the fruit or the vegetable as such, it becomes another stem, right?
Yep, it'll grow a tall fern, I suppose.
Yeah, it's
I'm
a
not
fern
sure.
looking.
How tall do they get, Nancy? You know, you had
I've
asparagus.
not grown asparagus. Up north, people pick wild asparagus. It grows wild a lot, and everybody keeps their asparagus patch secret, so they just go and get it. But there, because it's wild and it'll get 4 or 5 feet tall. I mean, it gets really tall.
Well, that's unbelievable.
I'd like to see one of those growing like that. Very interesting.
So now is there anything that any type of do you know what you type of soil it wants? Is it one acidic or is it
likes
neutral pH?
I think its pH around neutral, around 7. I think I read that recently. The soil's probably rich organic. I mean, I don't know much of anything that doesn't like rich organic. A lot of heavily composted soil. I think you're supposed to actually prepare a trench before you even plant your asparagus crowns with a high organic compost material, maybe up to 1 foot deep. I'm not sure it has to be that deep, but maybe a 12-inch wide, 10 inches deep, and heavy, not just native soil. It has to be to be successful.
Right. Well, I've got a 55-gallon drum full of compost now ready to start using this year, so it's taken me a while to get to it. You know, compost doesn't happen as fast as you think it does, folks. Your normal scraps and your yard scraps and things like that, it doesn't break down and become a pound of dirt real quick. No. But it's very rich, so it's unbelievable how rich it is. And so now you've got a barrel system that you turn over and over.
I have a tumbler, but the problem with that is you keep adding to it, and when it's about ready, if you just keep adding more stuff to it, it never gets. So you have to decide at some point to quit adding to it, then harvest it. So most people, I think, that want to do composting probably need at least 2, whether you have tumblers or bins outside or whatever. Have 2. One you can work, and when it finishes, you start another one. That way you have at least.
Yeah, I think that works best. I followed Dave's advice last year, and I started a bin, and then I've got one that I haven't added anything to in a year, and I pulled 2 5-gallon buckets out, and that made. In my flower beds, my flowers really like it.
Oh yeah. Well, I this year I'm going to have some to use and thing, but now I'm going to have to either dump that somewhere and then start over, or buy me a second one. And I've been using, barrels and garbage cans and just.
You can stop and pick up a couple pallets and 3 pallets together, and then just
nail
throw
them together.
everything. Yep.
3 by 3 by 3 is the magic number for a hot compost pile, and that hot compost pile means when you put the appropriate number of combination of browns and greens, that'll go through the heat and it will decompose faster. But you have to have volume for that, just a little bit. It won't stay hot enough.
Right.
But there's very few people that probably have a hot compost pile. By definition, it probably is a mixture, because the core of the pile may be hot, but the rest of it won't be.
Right.
So.
I was out turning mine the other day before it started raining, and first fork I turned over was steaming. I was so excited.
That's great.
You know you're a gardener when you get excited about compost.
That's right. Greens and browns, but get the right combination.
Makes a difference, and I know we've talked about every week in here that the plants don't eat the dirt; they eat what's in the soil. The soil is just what collects the nutrients and acts as the foundation to hold the plant up. So it actually doesn't eat the soil; it just eats those minerals and that are in the soil. So you got to remember that. So composting is the best way. If you have a big garden spot, you can pour leaves and grasses in there and turn it over. Put a cover on it every year, mustards or greens. And
a good time to do that's in the fall. A lot of people when they're through picking their okra, they're tired of gardening. They're canned everything they're going to get, just wore out. But the best time to prepare your next year's garden is in the fall. In the fall, you can open up your trenches wherever you're planting in, fill them with leaves, compost material, and plus it takes the weeds out that's grown that season. And you'll find out if you prepare the soil in the fall, you'll have less weeds in the fall and summer.
And that's good. So you can take just mustard greens or collard greens and just spread it.
Yeah, I use red clover. I think turnip greens.
Yeah.
When the red clover's great, it holds the nitrogen in the soil. But what I've read is if it goes to flower, starts using then it'll start using consuming the nitrogen. So you want to turn it in before it starts making the flowers, or some period shortly after.
Yeah.
Is that true?
I've been told that annual rye, you plant annual rye on your flower in your vegetable garden in the fall. It comes up, it kills the weeds, and then when you turn it under in the spring, then you have the green manure from the decomposing plant.
I think fall preparation is the key. People typically abandon their plot in the fall until next, and they complain about all the weeds, then they got to. But if you start in fall early, I think you've got a good jump start on the next year's garden.
We had that speaker last year class that said, if you let a weed go to seed, you're going to pick it for 7 years.
That makes sense.
That's a scary thought.
Yeah.
That like I say, your garden spot, you're going to have a lot of leaves. And now you got to mix with your leaves. You got to have browns and greens. And you got to worry about the acidity with the leaves, right?
Typically, I wouldn't really worry about a whole lot. If you used a lot of the wrong kind of leaves, which would be some oak leaves are maybe high in acid.
Yes.
I'm not sure, but
No black walnut.
No black walnuts in anything.
I've got one of those.
Leave that away from all your garden. There's some kind of chemical, I think.
And what about your pine needles?
Pine needles I wouldn't use, but you could.
If you need something acidic, though.
Yeah, but if you're using it in your regular compost, you're going to lower the pH of your ground eventually if you put a lot of high acid materials in there. You can't help but drop the pH.
If you need more of the brown, just shred your newspapers and put your newspapers back in there.
Well, in the summer I have a lot of maple trees that I have plenty of leaves. And some hickory. I have a lot of hickory leaves and maples, and of course I got to make sure I get those that are not around my pine trees. But we got truckloads of leaves out. Matter of fact, a guy come down and said, "I'll rake your leaves up to put them on my garden." It says, "Have at it."
Rake leaves are good. If you got somebody that's bagging them up in their mower, that also chops them and makes them smaller, and they decompose faster.
I kept a couple extra bags. I just bagged up 55-gallon bags of that.
That's super.
Laid over there and laid them over in the woods. Good morning, you're on. I didn't push the button. Good morning, you're on Make It Grow.
I hate to, but I love this. Let me tell you, I would suggest to everybody that was serious in garden, even in raised beds, I would suggest they get a Prairie Morris electronic soil tester. It's got 2 prongs on it. It tells you the pH. It tells you the temperature of the ground. It tells you, the levels of soil in no time, and the battery is included. I would suggest everybody get one of those. I've got one, and I use it, and it's accurate, and it tells you when it's balanced. Okay, I wanted to ask the guy one more question.
All right.
One more question. Orthene. How organic is that?
Orthene.
Orthene.
Orthene. It sounds like a petroleum-based product to me. I'm not sure what it is, but just by the name, it doesn't sound organic at all. But I'm not sure what it is.
Well, I mean, now if you're away from your garden and your garden's not got no flower ant hills, I'm going to tell you what will get rid of the flower ants, and I think you can still get it at. Gosh, I don't mean to be throwing these plugs in, but I think you can still get it at Lowe's. It's a little powder, and you use about a half a teaspoon on the ant hill. Okay, the worker ants actually get in it, and they carry it down to the queen, and it actually kills them. And I have used it. I had some left over. See, down at from Tinga, Ron.
Hey, I've got to go. It's past time.
Wilson's greenhouse. I run them greenhouse.
Yeah, I know you did. Hey, I've got to run here. It's time for us to get out of here. We got to get ready next show. We'll see you next week here, folks. Hey, folks, that's been it on Make It Grow. If I can play a little music here. Nancy, Dave, thank you so much for your time this morning. And we've got, 2 more weeks to go here.
One more
week of Make It Grow. And then we'll be back in October. Maybe we'll come back once a month and talk about your gardens mid-year. Anytime we can help. If you need help with your gardeners, you can contact the Master Gardeners at 728-0002 at the Bradley County Agricultural Extension Agency. Actually, it's the UT Tennessee State Agriculture Agency down on Church Street. Go get your soil sample kit down there. For $7, you can get your soil, and you can tell about your pH. So that's been here on Make It Grow. See you next week, folks.
You are listening to WOOP-LP, Cleveland, Tennessee. WOOP FM is a broadcasting service of the Traditional Music Resource Center, and we play America's original music.